to Senegal, where the man who is set to become the country's youngest ever president at the age of 44 has promised to bring reconciliation after weeks of political turmoil. Bassirou Diomaye Faye, who was released from prison less than 2 weeks ago, told a news conference in the capital Dakar that he would rebuild the country's institutions, govern with humility and tackle corruption. Strengthening judicial independence and creating jobs are also key priorities.
Le peuple sénégalais a fait le choix de la rupture.
The Senegalese people have chosen to break with the past, to give substance to the immense hopes raised by our vision of society. I hope that our vision of society has given substance to their aspirations. I pledge to govern with humility and transparency, and to fight corruption at all levels. I pledge to devote myself fully to rebuilding our institutions and strengthening the foundations of our way of life together. I would like to say to the international community and to our bilateral and multilateral partners that Senegal will always hold its ground and remain a friendly country and a reliable ally to any partner who engages with us in virtuous, respectful, and mutually productive cooperation. This election took place in a context marked by a pre-electoral crisis that cost lives, left many injured, and so many patriots imprisoned. We intend to turn this page, to reconcile hearts, to reconcile the Senegalese people, and to set to work tirelessly to mark and realize the hopes raised by my election and the project I am carrying forward.
Suscité par mon élection et le projet dont je suis le porteur.
The president-elect in Senegal. Well, for more on the latest developments in that country, I'm joined now in the studio by Professor Tunde Esan, Professor of International Relations with a focus on the history of African elections and democratic developments on the continent and beyond. Thank you very much indeed. Lovely to see you again.
It's good to see you too.
And just give us, first of all, the background to this, because the election was originally due last month, but was postponed just before hours before campaigning was set to begin, and it triggered deadly opposition protests and a democratic crisis.
Yeah, the underlying factor, the undercurrent is quite interesting. Macky Sall, who has been there for about 12 years, was trying to see if he can have a third time, as it were. That has been the tradition in Senegal for some time. You know, you remember the first president of the
Senghor.
Senghor actually was there for 20 years, you know, and that triggered a lot of crises in Dakar and other towns in Senegal. And of course, it is in the midst of this that the Constitutional Court ruled and said, look, the election must be held and that there will be no tampering with the Constitution of the Republic of Senegal.
So that was, in your assessment, because I mean you focus on democratic developments on the continent. Do you see that as a good, credible democratic development?
Yes, like I said, entrenched democracy is something that is not that common in Africa. We can talk about Republic of Benin, you understand, West Africa. To a large extent, we are thinking about Ivory Coast. I mean, it's developing. But the most important one that has been entrenched, that is very consistent since 1960 September, when they gained independence, became a republic, has been Senegal. You know, you remember Leopold Sédar Senghor, you understand, followed by, you know, Diouf, Abdou Diouf, then, you know, Laye and all that, Maye. And that has entrenched. So it is a tradition that has been very interesting, that is very, very important, particularly coming from that side. You remember, if you look at it, Senegal is the westernmost part of West Africa. And of course, we are on the eastern part, immediate eastern part is Republic of Mali, you understand, going through a lot of crises. And of course, on the northern part of it is Mauritania, you understand, with its own crisis. So having Senegal with an entrenched and increasingly entrenched culture of democracy is very important. Right. It sends good signals, not only to West Africa, other African countries, but even to the other sub-regions.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the president-elect, Mr. Faye, had just over a week to campaign after being freed from jail, yet he still won. I mean, how remarkable is this?
It's very remarkable, but you have to look at the background to it all. You understand? Behind him is Sioko. you know. There is this gentleman called Sioko, who is the president of the Patriots of Senegal, you understand?
Yeah.
And Usman Sioko.
Right.
And Usman has been on the beat for a long time, since 2014, you know, as a trade unionist, and that's when the PASTF was formed, and he has been at the forefront of the opposition to Macky Sall, you understand. But unfortunately for him, he was convicted for, you know, for character assassination or defamation and things like that. So because of his conviction, he could not contest. So he endorsed his deputy, Bashir Mai, who eventually emerged the winner in this. So the truth is that Senegalese want a change, and the constitutional crisis that was literally thrown up and triggered by the attempt by Macky Sall to amend the constitution to allow him for a third term actually swayed a large number of people. And don't forget again that essentially when you look at the demography of Senegal, about 60% of the population are under 25 years, you understand? So that means that they're literally young. And seeing a young man against a 62-year-old man, you understand? I mean, it might be surprising, you understand? But what Usman has done for a fairly long time is quite remarkable. Right. And remember, they were in jail. They have been in detention since July 2023, you understand, when their party was banned, you understand, and there was a lot of issues. They were going to court on and off, and there have been a lot of protests all along for almost a year. So it triggered everything, and everything just worked for a child of destiny, Bashir, who emerged.
So, I mean, is there any word yet about what will happen to Usman Sonko? Might he, for instance, be pardoned, or perhaps be brought into government? Because, as you said, I mean, the two of them are quite close. Yeah. And the president-elect, from what I understand, has in fact named one of his children after Usman Sonko.
Not that you're close. Usman Sioko is his mentor. You remember they have, you know, a union, you understand, of tax and estate union that was headed by Usman Sioko. That was the background to their political activities and the emergence of the Patriots of Senegal. So it is not just like they are close. He is the mentor, but you know, like you can't understand things. Things work out this way.
So do you think he might be pardoned?
Yeah, he will definitely be pardoned. Right. Whether he will be brought in as part of the government, let's watch and see. Let's wait and see how developments, how it goes on.
So what do you think the key priorities or the key promises of the president-elect are? What are the things that he's intending to do in his first few months in office?
My take on it is that he's young, radical, forward-looking, and he wants to take some radical steps, particularly when it concerns the economy. He said that he's going to review some of the contracts concerning mining and hydrocarbon, you know, as it were.
Well, you mentioned the economy there. I don't mean to interrupt you, but is there any plan that you've heard of to scrap the CFA currency, something he said in the past that he would do if he had the opportunity?
But you know, the truth is that, like I said, when young people speak, and the radicals, particularly looking at it from the background that they are speaking from the background of being on the left, you understand, you know, their party is on the center of the left, as it were. He said so that he's going to see what they are going to do, reformation of the monetary system, if possible, disengage from, you know, attachment to France and the entire, you know, monetary policies and this infrastructure, as it were. Whether he can do this without harming the economy of Senegal, we don't know, because it's an intricate and very complex issue.
That's a very good point.
So he might be a little bit careful when it comes to this. I mean, he will have economic advisors who will have to advise him. You understand? When an economy is tied to all our economies, you know, it's interwoven and tied one way or the other to the other. You understand? For an economy that is literally, it's a literally small economy, $31 billion economy for 18 million people, and most of them are under the age of 25. In other words, a lot of, about 20% of Senegalese youths are looking for a job at any point and at every point in time. We want to look at the investment, French investment there and all that.
Right.
So it might be a little bit more careful.
Okay. Just very quickly, because I've just been told we're out of time.
Yeah.
Just returning to that Usman Sonko relationship with the president-elect. I mean, is that closeness between them likely to raise questions about who's really in charge in Senegal?
No, the president is in charge, no doubt about that. And when you look at this gentleman who was just one Bashir, you understand, he knows exactly what he's doing. He's been trained and he's been on training for a fairly long time. So he's in charge, no doubt about that.
Okay.
But naturally, as situations evolve, you are going to see alliances and groupings and all that. It is a natural development. I say this is where we belong. How can we get and what can we get?
Right.
Yeah.
Prof, I want to thank you very much indeed. I've understood the issues now a lot better. I mean, I knew you would be the one to do it. Thank you very much indeed. Professor Tunde Esan is Professor of International Relations with a focus on the history of African elections and democratic developments on the continent and beyond. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.